welcome to another episode of Stuck in My Mind podcast. I am your host, Wize, and my guest today is a retired U.S. Army senior officer and founder of Skillful Brands. After leading high performance organizations through the Department of Defense and the corporate sector, he decided to now help entrepreneurs eliminate the complexity of starting and scaling a successful business. Today, we're going to be talking about leadership, structure, discipline, and how to build teams that actually perform. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having
What's-
me on your podcast. I'm really grateful. I know having a podcast is not easy and providing great content to your audience. So again, thank you for having me.
Oh, the pleasure's all mine. So, what was your mindset when you transitioned from uh, a, a U.S. Army senior officer to entrepreneurship?
Yeah, so I will say that my journey, started, in the military. I spent 22 years there, leading different organizations. And when I transitioned from, uniform, I brought a lot of those principles with me to start Skillful Brands. When I was in the military, I did start a business in 2007. And throughout my career on the side, I did start and sell multiple businesses. But when I transitioned, my focus was to help entrepreneurs eliminate the complexities of starting and operating a business, and kind of like, what does that look like? I know what it feels like to be stuck in your business. I know what it feels like to wear like multiple hats and just trying to keep your business going. I just wanted to help entrepreneurs get going, get started, and be able to scale their business.
So what leadership lessons from the military translated directly into your business?
One, everyone has a voice in your organization. So from the lowest person in your organization to the senior ranking, everybody has a voice. Everybody has feedback. So you have to solicit that feedback and use that to actually transition your organization and make it better. Sometimes you join organizations always top down feedback, direction, directives, but sometimes you need to always get it from the bottom as well to see, the valuable input that everyone has.
So, what surprised you most about the corporate or entrepreneur world after military service, or after you left the military? Like, what was a big surprise for you looking into the corporate or entrepreneur world?
So I always thought, because I know I spent most of my adult life in the military, I thought that the process getting out of the military would be a lot faster on, hiring, getting shipping of goods and things like that. But what I realized is when I got out, because initially I was just exploring, hey, I'm out of the military. I know I want to be in entrepreneurship, but let me just see what other avenues are out there as far as employment. So when I initially transitioned, I did apply for a few jobs, and I realized that I was really just another number, and people were not as fast as responses and getting back to you. It seemed like everyone was just taking their time. So I was really surprised um, at that, because I always thought, like, the military is slow. Like I would think corporate America is like more timely, but actually it wasn't.
So what was that moment when you realized you wanted to start Skillful Brands? What you wanted to launch another business? Because like you said, throughout the military, you did start other business. But what made you realize that you wanted to start Skillful Brands?
So everyone had a lot of people that will always come up to me, ask me different, questions about starting different businesses. And then, I just realized that, like, hey, this was my calling. I experienced like the full gamut of being a business owner. And I think the shifting point for me is when I realized that, being busy in a business does not build that business. So I wanted to just be able to share with other entrepreneurs the process of from starting a business all the way to scaling it. Because, just like a lot of other business owners, They might have full-time jobs. They got, responsibilities of being a parent, and they're trying to run a part-time business. But what I try to help individuals understand is sometimes that part-time business can have full-time requirements. So I want to help them alleviate some of that burden that they have when they're trying to run their business and teach them about the lessons that I've had, that definitely will be able to help them out.
Oh yeah, definitely, and that's what I've been doing with helping people launch their podcasts. I've helped them avoid the pitfalls I had to go through when I first started because I didn't know anything about podcasting.
Right.
So when I'm actually so proud because March 1st, my good friend Yanyoi, I helped her launch her podcast, and she's actually debuted in March 1st. I've helped her create the first 3 episodes. I've showed us a structure and how to a system for her to really not to fade out. Like really, because that's one of the big things when you're getting into podcasting, especially if you don't have a big machine behind you and you're doing all the heavy lifting. You're doing the editing, the getting of guests, scheduling, oh everything. You're doing everything. So I'm showing her a system where hey, maybe you do a bunch of batch recordings in a week or whatever, and just space them out.
Right.
And
And
so,
I will say that's good too because, finding a coach or mentor that has been through the fire
mhm,
is probably way more valuable because they can quickly tell if you're doing something that's not going to work or fail, right? Because, I think a lot of people start, being in entrepreneurship, uh, they don't have bad ideas. They just don't have the proper structure or mentorship to make it go. And to working with someone that has already, been through the fire, has failed, and was able to figure it out, I think are the best coaches.
yeah, and just the fact that because when I told her I was like, hey, I'm launching this course, and she's like, all right, where do I sign up? Like I wasn't telling her. I was just letting her. I was like, hey, I was just telling her, hey, I'm going to do this course and I want to show people. And she's like, man, I've been procrastinating on starting this podcast for the longest. And this is out. She's like, here you go. And she signed up and she did the beta program. And like I said, in March, we're launching her podcast. I'm so excited for her. And I'm excited for me because it was like, all right, someone gave me an opportunity to help them launch their podcast. So now we're launching it, and because it's different when you launch your own stuff, like when you create your
Right,
own content. But it's something else when you're able to help someone create something, right, and help them all along in their journey. There's something much more fulfilling in that because now I'm helping someone else out.
right. But if you really think about it, though, that's just validation on your hard work. That's
Mhm.
validation that the steps to take to actually establish a podcast because you've been through it, right? So
Yeah,
it's just a reward. It's just a rewarding to you that you know that like, hey, everything that I did, this process that I now know work. Because she's saying success is really like a good plan.
absolutely. Yeah. It took me. I've been podcasting now. But next month, and the next month will be 6 years that I'll be podcasting, and so for me, it's been just learning and evolving. Like the podcast has gone through so many different transitions, and because I've grown as a podcaster, so
Right,
the show has grown because of my growth, and so I'm like just having a blast being able to learn something and find my voice and my passion and something that fulfills me and now I'm able to teach others to create something that I love, a medium that I love. So I'm excited for what the future holds.
right. Because hey, so one of the things I was just thinking about. So you're teaching her, but then it's also another learning opportunity for you because you transition from running your own podcast and now you're teaching. So you're learning, you're in a different phase of the learning, right?
Yeah.
So once you finish teaching her, now like that's another phase of your business that you have in your kit bag.
Hmm. Oh, podcasting has opened up so many opportunities for me to learn and just so many different lanes that I've been able to go into, right? Like, cause now from podcasting, and now I'm going into coaching people how to launch their own podcasts.
Right,
And I've also learned how to I've helped my nephew self-publish his books. So in that process, I've learned how to format books, how to upload books, how to create. I've created a program on showing people how to self-publish their own books as well. I've helped this young lady self-publish her first children's book. Like all these things come from me launching the podcast and just stepping out of my comfort zone, because basically this wasn't the medium that I was in. This wasn't my realm. But it
right.
was me challenging myself and stepping out of my comfort zone and doing something that I had never done. And from there, so many different opportunities, like so many different things that I've learned. And I'm like, okay, this is something I can learn and build the skill from it and develop something. And it's been beneficial for me in the long run.
Right. You know, you took one of the bigger steps. You got started,
Hmm.
you educated yourself, and you were able to, transition to something else. I think from my experience, so many people start great businesses, but they don't get to expand or grow because they are scared. They don't have the proper mentorship. So their business end up falling apart, or they failing, not because it was a bad business or they had bad products, but they didn't have the mindset and the motivation, and they were kind of like just stuck in one space.
So what does Skillful Brands do differently when it comes to business development?
So what we have is so Skillful Brands is really a parent company, and we have a Skillful family of products. So our main product is Skillful Advisor, which is a accelerator and mastermind program where we accept entrepreneurs into a 9-week program, and kind of based on where they're at, we have a discovery call. So we have three phases. Either you're in the proof and validation, you're in the business and optimizing, or you're in the growth and expansion. So on our discovery call, we will kind of decide where you're at. As you know, there's so many mastermind programs out there that you see in different courses and things like that. And a lot of those courses are great. But what we try to bring to everyone's attention, those courses might not fit in your framework at the time you see it, right? So you may be in the proof and validation phase of your business, and you might see a course on building web funnels. That may be a great course, but it may not be the proper timing for your business. So, in our proof and validation, we kind of show people how to have the right mindset and validation and set up the proper formation and structure for their business. And then you will transition it to another phase of your business.
And like how you was mentioning, there's so many courses out there for people to take, and so I know you have to really do something different to really distinguish yourself to show them that, like, yeah, there's a lot of courses out here, but this is what we do differently. This is how we stand out.
Right. And I was just speaking to someone earlier about this. So in 2007, I got into entrepreneurship, and I was a real estate investor. And I took maybe a couple of different courses. And when I really started digging into the information, I realized that a lot of the material was the same. But this person that called themselves a guru, they may have changed a step or changed the name of a step and rebranded the same course, and they were out selling it. It was the same information. So what we kind of teach is you need to develop your own framework, and we kind of focus on what I call the three S's: structure, systems, and strategy. So on the structure, having the right mindset. And then for systems, I kind of use that as an acronym, because you need to develop yourself something to save yourself time, energy, and money. And then you get into your strategy, having the right framework to know where you're going and where your business is currently at is what we definitely teach heavily.
So why do so many entrepreneurs overcomplicate their operations?
One, I think they overcomplicate it because one, I think a lot of entrepreneurs, um, they can't get the right mindset to understand that they can't do it all themselves. A lot of young entrepreneurs in season, they have to touch every part of their business. And what I realized for me is I started using VAs and hiring people to help me with my business. So what I realized is that VA or that employee may not give me the 100% or do it exactly the way I would do it, but they would give me the 90%. And that allows me now to be able to get out and promote my business, to show up on podcasts and things like that. So I really, think that a lot of people can't get out of their own way and they just have to touch every part of their business. But we really promote getting VAs. And one of the things about that is I initially started using VAs. So you have to find the right one, and one of the mistakes that I made when I hired a VA, I hired a generalist. So I hired someone that was okay in a lot of different areas. But I quickly realized is that I probably should have hired multiple VAs that special they had their own zone of genius, right? So I should have hired a VA, and it might have cost me the same amount, but I hired a VA that did admin. I should have hired a VA that specialized in social media, hired a VA that specialized in video editing, and then doing it that way, I had someone that was specialized in a certain field versus someone that was a generalist, um, you know, that really didn't know the in-depth detail of what I required for them.
Absolutely. So what are the foundational systems every business should have?
So one, depending on where you're at, one, you should have a good CRM to be able to get capture leads, because that could be a big portion of your business. But one of the main things that I see a lot of people asking me about is, hey, should this business be focused more on myself or should it be focused more on the service and products? And what I share with a lot of people is if you're a new business, it should probably focus on both because people will purchase and buy and subscribe more to a company where they know the person leader, right? You can get more sales from someone that they feel comfortable with. So initially, when you first start running a business, it should focus on you putting yourself out there. Hey, I just started this podcast. I would really like you to check it. Or hey, I got this great product. And then as you continue to grow your business, you can start transitioning away from that a little bit because it's all about legacy. At one point, you want to make step away so you can have that legacy and freedom to do whatever you want to do. But initially, getting started, you definitely need to promote your business and be more involved in it.
Absolutely. So how do you build a cohesive, high performing team?
Like I was saying, it's really about for me the zone of genius that you hire and you put on your team. I think one of the challenges I was just listening to this other podcast by this other influencer that's out there, and what he said is a lot of people get stuck um, carrying the same people with them that they started with. So he said, for example, if you want to get to six figures, when you get to six figures, the team that you have with you may need to change because they have not experienced that growth that you're looking for. So you want to bring in a team that has already hit a million to work on your team because they already been through the process. They know what your company needs. Once you get to a million, your team may need to change again. You're now looking for individuals that have already operated on the 5 million, 10 million stage to help your business grow because they already have went through the fire. They understand the concepts and the systems that need to be in place. So I think you have to really just do the research on where you're at and where you're getting to, and just make sure you're hiring the right mentors and teams that people on your team that you need.
So what role does communication play in scaling a business?
Yep. So I would tell you that communication plays a big role, and I can share here how I run my business. So a lot of my individuals that help me out are VAs, as I stated. And what we've done, initially, I was just hiring VAs. I was like, no, this person's not working out. What I realized is I didn't have a proper structure for that. I didn't have SOPs. I didn't have onboarding, to be able to onboard individuals so they can understand what the mission and culture of my environment is. And then also another thing that I did, I took it back to the basics, even before COVID. So before COVID, a lot of people were actually going to the office, working, and then when COVID happened, more people are doing virtual work. So what I did for my organization, I created a virtual headquarters. And every day, my VAs show up to work and they work in co working space. So all of my VAs are in one room. They're able to communicate, they're able to share ideas, they're able to, bounce information off each other. And it's very powerful because at any moment, I may have a question, I might have an idea. I can pop into the virtual headquarters and, communicate with them. And it's great.
How do you instill accountability without micromanaging?
And so it's all about the onboarding. It's all about making them feel that they're a part of the team, right? When you get someone that you hire that buys into your idea, buys into your mentality and your vision, and you preach accountability, it's much easier to make them part of the team, make them part of the family. So you have to just instill that confidence that hey, you're the leader, you're a part of our team. We value your feedback and your thoughts, and it'll come along. From based on what I've seen and the way we train, it's all about making them feel and bringing them into your team.
What does changing the status quo really mean in business?
Yep. So changing the status quo in business means there's a different structure that we teach versus what everybody else is shared because we have dug deep and we found some tools, like I was sharing with VAs, how to properly hire them, how to probably account for them on your taxes, how to build your own platforms. So what we have done is we probably have been against the grain on what the way that a lot of people are teaching, and the way we are able to go against the grain because we actually have done it. So we did the research, we did the analysis. So changing the status quo means we don't just follow the beaten path. We actually are making our own pathway to entrepreneurship because we understand what it takes. We're just not taking anybody's word for it. We're actually doing it ourselves.
Yeah, and I agree with you 100%. Right, because that's what I'm doing with what I'm building is I'm not taking the path everyone else is taking. This is a path that I've made myself. I've learned everything that I'm working on is something that I've really spent a lot of time building and developing and growing and so. But did I take it? Did I take a normal route to it? No. It was just it just happened that I got into podcasting and it just led into different things.
Right.
It was the fact that I took that first step, that first step, and decided that I was going to do the podcast, and that eventually led to everything else.
Right. And and one of the things is being that you've experienced it, when you step into a room of other podcasters, or you get on a conference call with other podcasters and they're saying something, you can tell if they're bull jiving or not. You can tell if they're sincere. You can tell if they're knowledgeable because you've already went through it. So you know if somebody's saying something that doesn't even make sense, or they say they're a guru and they haven't even experienced what they're teaching because you went through that.
Oh yeah, I was there where I didn't have any guests on my show, or even when I reached out to people, it was difficult for me to find guests. And now, yes, I use the service that we used was Podmatch that helped connect us. But I also have now in my emails, I probably get 2, 3 emails daily of people reaching out wanting to be a guest on the show. So it took me to build up the show to that point where, because like I said before, when I did reach out to people, they were like, "Oh no, who you?" Or you like what numbers you generating?" Or I was like, "Man, I'm just starting out." They're like, "Nah."
Right.
Now it's like every day, 2, 3 emails. Hey, I got a perfect guest for you. And sometimes you got to say no, but it feels it's different now, right? Because now I'm like, all right, now people want to be a part of it, and that's great.
Right. And then, for me, I would say probably over the last year, I've taken a liking to LinkedIn. So I know a lot of business owners are not as comfortable with LinkedIn, or they're not on there. But what I find is I find more people that I can network with, more people that are like-minded people that I can connect with on LinkedIn. And all of those may not end up being my client, but I've made great friendships. I've met people in communities where I can network and I can learn. So I just suggest that everyone that LinkedIn is probably a place, if you're not there, that you're missing out on.
And you know what's funny with right? LinkedIn has probably the past year, right, has been probably one of my most surprises as far as people viewing on LinkedIn. Like the number of views that I get on LinkedIn are staggering to me, right? Because LinkedIn isn't known for that. But
Right,
when I see my impressions and my numbers from people watching the podcast, it's surprising to me. It's like in the thousands. I'm like, this is, but and it's crazy because there's been people. Shout out to my girl Angela Lewis. I got some stuff for her. I got to take care of. But she was like, "Yo, since I've been on your," she was a guest on my show. She was like, "So many people through LinkedIn have reached out to her to be a guest on their podcast because they heard her on my show."
right,
And so and to have that, right, and it's not just her, it's been other people to tell me the same thing, that through LinkedIn people are reaching out to them to be guests on the show because they heard them on my show.
right.
And
Have
yeah.
you posted? I'm not for sure if you've posted any articles or anything like that about podcasting, but if you haven't, I think that's another good idea as well.
Oh, I
Um,
have a newsletter. Yeah, I have a newsletter.
okay,
I talk about the process that I use to podcast and building systems with AI and everything. Yeah, I have yes, and that was something I started last year. Right, that was something when I saw that I was generating that kind of buzz on LinkedIn where people are reaching out and actually seeing my content and everything. I decided to launch a newsletter.
right.
And so yeah, so no, it's been awesome to do. It's been like, all right, it's giving me something else to really work on and build and grow.
Right. Yeah. I think that, I mean, obviously, you got Facebook, you got Instagram, you got LinkedIn. I just think a lot of people don't do the research to see where their ideal clients are. And you can have clients on all all the social media platforms, but you just gotta, understand. what platform to use for what. And for me, I think LinkedIn has just been more networking, in connecting with great people.
Oh no, it is. It's and again, it's provided me a platform where the people that I'm trying to connect with, coaches, entrepreneurs, are on there, right? Because those are the people I want to help. Because those are people who are looking to launch podcasts or who are looking to self-publish books or whatever it is.
Hmm.
That's why LinkedIn to me has been a game changer, because that's where my ideal client lies, is in LinkedIn. Like that's where I like, yeah, Facebook, there's certain things, yes, and Instagram, yes, but LinkedIn is where I feel that I can probably make a real impact with what I want to do.
Here's another concept too that I learned that I've been sharing. So obviously, you have your ideal client, but then also there's a concept about who your strategic partners are.
Mm,
And I really like connecting with my strategic partner. So, for example, with your podcast, your strategic partner would be other business coaches because as they coach, their clients, they say, "Well, I know someone that got a great podcast that I might want to see if you could be on." That will be a strategic partner that could find your clients for you. So I always now preach about think about who your strategic partners are, and they're individuals that come in contact with your ideal client before you see them. So I always share that with people. Just don't make contact with your ideal client. Try to figure out who your strategic partner is.
oh, absolutely. That's one thing I am very I'm big with, is networking and building relationships with people. And I mentioned her before, Angela Lewis. She's um she's a strategic partner, like just like how you said, someone that that when she steps in a room and she sees someone, she's like, oh, I got the perfect person for you.
Yes.
And so when you have that kind of connection, it is an amazing,
Right. And then
amazing.
also, I would share that when you have that strategic partner, a lot of times you may not be in the room, but they can advocate for your business.
Hmm.
That's when you get people on your team and people helping you out that way, that you may not even be in a room with a group of people, but they're in there, they're sharing your story, they're telling people about you. They're definitely people you need to have on your team.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely it's important to have those people on your team. So what mistakes do new entrepreneurs consistently make?
So again, I think they don't they can't get out of their head that they can't touch everything in their business. They don't hire mentors, or they wait too late to try to hire a mentor. And then another thing that I share with a lot of people is about capital and finances.
Mm,
So I think a lot of people miss the opportunity for business growth when they just try to use their cash. I think the most successful businesses figure out how to use business credit to help with their growth and save their cash. I did have one client that came to me. They had a nice amount of cash on hand, but they didn't have any business credit. So every time they needed something, they had to use their cash. And it got to the point where they needed the cash that they had already spent, and then they couldn't qualify for business credit because they hadn't started establishing it yet. So I just share with everyone that hey, business credit can be very helpful when you're trying to scale and expand your business.
absolutely. How can someone simplify their business starting today?
So you're saying if they're just starting out right now?
No, 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 no. Say, how can they start simplifying today? Like if they're already established and they're going, how can they start today?
Yep. So they have to, if they don't have a framework, they need to develop that framework and understand what happens in each section, so they're not confused. So, for example, my framework, I have a 6 pillar framework that we preach. So, phase one is the mindset and motivation. Two is formation and structure. Three is building systems and processes. Four is credit and capital. Five is marketing, branding, and then the last phase is team building. So and it goes across three phases of that. So just depending on what phase you're in, you need to just put a framework together to understand, like, hey, in this phase, these are the things that I need to be working on to get to the next level, and I can't get distracted and work on something in the next phase when I need to be focused on phase whatever phase they're in.
Absolutely, definitely. What advice would you give to veterans considering entrepreneurship?
So for veterans, one, I will tell them. So first, I will say if you haven't transitioned out of the military and you're about to, I will tell you to definitely look at Boots to Business. They have a program for individuals that are getting out, that are transitioning. And then if you're also a veteran, you should probably connect with some other veterans in your area, the VFW and places like that, that will be able to help you navigate some of the services that can be offered to you. The Department of Veteran Affairs has all these courses and educations that you can take. But I think one of the most challenging things that happen to all veterans, to include myself, when you're transitioning out of the military, one, you're still working, and then it's like they're feeding you all this information at one time, and there's no way that you can consume all of the information that they're providing to you. That's whatever service information that you're being provided, and then it's Department of Veteran Affairs are providing to you. So I will always suggest that, hey, connect with some veteran groups that can help you really get going. In these veteran groups, there's people that can help you with, you know, different courses that you can take. There's also business owners that are veterans that can help you get going. So I suggest just, connecting with other veterans that have already transitioned out.
Definitely, definitely. So, what legacy do you want Skillful Brands to leave?
Yeah, so for me, the legacy is I want to, pass Skillful Brands down to my kids, and then it just provides a avenue of freedom for us in the future where we can transition to doing some other things, building more generational wealth and things like that. I think that's one of the most important things for me at this point in my life. Is not really about the amount of money that I can make, but it's about the quality of time and freedom that I can have.
Absolutely. So, if someone feels overwhelmed in business right now, what should be one of their first moves?
So could you say that one more time?
If someone feels overwhelmed in business right now, what should be one of their first moves?
So I think if someone is overwhelmed, there's a couple of things that I would do if I was in their situation. One, I will find a mentor. And then two, I would go through all of the tasks that I'm currently doing. And two, I would find the ones that I don't like, I would pass those off. And then two, the ones that I were not good at, I was also pass those off to someone else that could do them better than me. So those two big things right there, I think, will be helpful: mentorship, and then finding out what tasks you don't like and what tasks you can hand off to someone else.
Awesome, awesome, man. This has been great. We've actually one of the things about the show, right? I love it because it's live, and so we've had some comments. A loyal listener on the show by me, he says just taking a different path opposed to others is a characteristic of a leader. Podcast is a thing now. It's a great networking resource, whether you have a podcast or you're a guest on podcast. Absolutely, it's definitely a medium where people are able to connect with so many. Like I've connected with people all over the world through my podcast. I've built relationships and friendships with people all over the world. Being able use to being able to have the using the podcast to expand and grow. So Thank you. This has been great, but we've come to the part of the show where you get the spotlight and you get to plug away, let everybody know where they can find you, websites, everything.
Okay, yep. So again, my name is Antwon Person. Like I said before, you can find me on LinkedIn. I think I'm the only Antwon person there. So that's ANTWON PERSON. And then you can also find out about my mastermind program at skillfuladvisor.com. If you hit me up on LinkedIn, I will definitely respond. And then you can also schedule a discovery call on Skillful Advisor.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you, Antoine, for being such a great guest. I appreciate your time. Don't leave just yet. Let me close out the show and we'll chat a little bit off the air. But man, this has been great, man. Thank you for your time.
Okay. Thanks. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure's all mine. All right, everybody. Another great episode's in the books. It was awesome to have Antoine on the show. I greatly appreciate it. If this conversation helped you rethink how you lead or structure your business, please connect with Antwon Person and explore Skillful Brands at skillfulbrands.com. All links are going to be in the show notes. And if you know a veteran or entrepreneur who needs this conversation, share it. You know how your boy Wize does it? Peace out.